The distribute 2D circle and spiral eye expression allows a convenient way to place layers in a circle or an elliptic shape or some kind of spiral, so it's very powerful, but anyway very easy to use once you understood the concept. I have already prepared here a few of shape layers. You can use any kind of 2D layers. In this case these are 10 layers in total, and they are all placed here just at this point 0, 0. Yeah, so they are all here just small points, and I just apply now the distribute 2D circle and spiral with its default properties. So I apply, and what do I get? I get a warning that says please enter at last layer an existing layer. Yeah? And the point is, for any circle you always must specify what is the first layer contained in the circle and the last layer. And the defaults here are first layer index is 1, last layer index is 12. In this case I just have 10 layers, so the last layer in this case should be 10. And whoops, 10, and now I can apply it. In case I want to change the number of elements later, it's more convenient to do not put here a number, but actually the name of these layers. And I have renamed the first one here already to first, and the last one to last. And so I can just put here first, and here last, and apply it again. And now the nice thing is if I now add layers, so let's say I just select here one of them, this very last one, the 9th one, and just click on edit duplicate. Yeah, now I have 10, and now see what happens here. Yeah, whenever I add one, I click Ctrl D to duplicate again, and now the new one is added in the circle and everything works nicely. Yeah, now I have in total 12 points here on this circle. Let me just clean up a bit. So, okay, what can you change? Of course, you can change here this center. You can say, for example, center is at 500. And what I usually like, in particular to animate it later, is to put the center to 0, 0. Apply. Now, the center of the circle is actually lying here. And now I can add a new layer. New. Null. And in this new null, I call this center. I just parent all the elements to it. Yeah, just take them, and with Alt key selected, I just click here, and now you can see they jumped to this position. Yeah, now the circle is where the center is. Very nice. And also, if you want, for example, to rotate this circle, yeah, so you can just rotate here the center. Let's say we have here 0, and at the end we have one full rotation, yeah, like 1. And now you have a nicely rotating circle. Okay, another thing that you can specify here is the angle of the first layer and the angle of the last layer. So this means if you, for example, say the angle of the start layer is 90 and the angle of the end layer is 270, and you apply it to all these layers, except for this null, of course. Apply. Maybe I also enable here auto apply to apply any changes automatically. Now you can see before it was 0 to 360, which means one full rotation. Now we have, it starts at 90. So from the top, it rotates 90 degrees until it starts. So start angle 90 degrees. And then from the top until here, is 270 degrees. Yeah, so full around is 360, half around is, for example, 180. Yeah, so if we set this here to 180, it will go only until here. Yeah, and so you can choose the part of the circle that you want. You can even go beyond 360. Yeah, so 360 is one full rotation, and we can, for example, say 360 plus 45, yeah, so this means for the next round 45 degrees more. And now you can see it goes over the top until here, and just here you have a short hole. Okay, so usual thing is to have it from 0 to end angel. Now you can see here they overlap. Yeah, from 0 you have one full rotation and then it goes until here. So in this area you have these overlaps. So we go from 0 to 360, which is one full rotation. This means the first one starts here and the end one is also exactly here. So here are 2 points. Yeah, this is a bit ugly. You could choose here another degree that is exactly here, but I like it better to have it this way because it's easier to calculate. Here always 0 on 360. If you do not want here the first one to be here and also the very last one to be on top, so what you can do is to make the last one simply invisible. Yeah, nice trick, such that you also have just one dot here on the top. Okay. Another thing that you can choose is the radius, and by default you need just to choose the radius of the first layer and not the radius of the last layer. Yeah? So here I have by default enabled use radius of the first layer, meaning this part here is ignored. How is this working? If you say, for example, so radius, maybe it's irritating to have 2 numbers here, but this is because you can do ellipses with it. Yeah. So for example, if we put here a 200, and everything is reapplied, you can see now in the x direction, the circle became wider, but in the y direction, it is still 100. Yeah? And if you put here 202, you can see that now the entire circle becomes larger. So radius is specified with 2 different values because then you can also create ellipses by having another radius in the x direction than in the y direction. Okay, now how do you create spirals? Spirals can be created by varying the radius of the last layer compared to the first one. So let's say we want to start at a radius of 200, but end at a radius of 100. Yes, a smaller radius. This means we have a spiral that starts here, makes one rotation, and during this full rotation, the radius gets smaller. So I disable this use radius of first layer. And now we can see what happens. Maybe I can also make now the last layer visible again to get it here at the top. The last layer is actually located here. Yeah. Now you have a nice spiral where the first radius, so this one here is 100, and the last radius, namely from here to here, is 200. And of course, now you can also do more than one full rotation. So you can, for example, say here, I do not want to have 360 degrees. So from 0 degree to 1 round 360, but you can say another 360 degrees, please. So you can, for example, type here 360 times 2, yeah, which is 720. And now this looks strange, but this is just because we have maybe a little bit few points to see that this here is actually a spiral with 2 full rotations. So let's just take here these points in the middle and duplicate them. And now you can maybe already see a bit more what is going on. Yeah, you have here one rotation and then here the next one, and finally you are here. So let's add even more points to make this more clear. Again, duplicate them. And now you can see your nice spiral that you have. Yeah, so 2 rotations from 0 degree angle of the first point to 720 degree angle of the second point. And then the outer radius, so the distance from here to here, is 200. And the inner radius is just 100. And of course, again, you can specify here this radius in both directions differently. So you could, for example, say it should be 300 in y direction, which, okay, now the auto apply doesn't work anymore because I have intermediately here add a lot of new points. Yeah, so it says it doesn't know to which points to automatically reapply. So I just select my points here again and hit again apply. Apply. Yeah, now this is quite a bit of points, so it takes a bit on my machine here. And now you can see the spiral is stretched, or at least the starting of the spiral is stretched, but the end is not stretched because this is 100, 100. So here it looks more or less like a perfect circle again. Okay, all these elements can be animated over time by linking them. Yeah. So in other words, you can go here, for example, to this null layer, select just the layer and no property of it, and click on this first angle, and then it asks you, do you want to create a control for it? I say yes, and then I also, maybe let's disable auto apply for now, because then after each change it applies all these I expressions, which makes it a bit slow. So I also want to have here a control for the second angle, for the end angle. Yeah, this one. And I say, yes, I want such a control. And now I apply this I expression to all these points again. Apply. And what happens now? Okay, let's look at it. What are the values currently set here in the effect for this? So here we have now this first angle and here this last angle. Yeah, and both of these are set to 0 currently. I remember originally we had 0 and here 720. Yeah, 2 full rotations. And if we do this, we have back our nice spiral. And now we can, of course, keyframe this. Yeah, say something like over 1 second. We want to have here 720, and here we want to start at 0. Yeah, and if you now do a RAM preview, we can see that step by step this forms a larger spiral. Does one round and then a second one. So it's looking now like this, quite nice. And see how it is rotating, because here the center, so our null object had here this rotation keyframed. Yeah, so if we remove the keyframes, it just doesn't rotate, but just draws here this nice spiral. If we go back with our radius to our circle, 100, 100. And let's also remove some of the points, because it's really a bit much and slows everything down. Yeah, so let's just delete all the points except for 3. Now let's add in a few more, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, something like 12 points now in total looks good. And now to these 12 points, we again apply this I expression. And so remember, what I now changed is I changed the radius here back to 100 from the start and the beginning and the end. And now what happens if we animate here the angle of the last point from 0 to 720, yeah, is that it creates here one entire round. This is 360, and then it does a second round even. Yeah, so it makes 2 full turns here until it ends up here. So, and of course we can also do then similar things, animating here the start point. Yeah, so we can say here we are at 360, and then from this point on the start point should move to here to go also to 360, for example. Yeah, what we now have is it starts rotating here around, and when the start point or this second angle here actually, so the last layer arrives at 360 degrees, now the first point starts traveling. Now the first point you see starts traveling from 360 from 0 also to 360 degrees. Yeah, this way you can create this kind of animation here. Very nice. And of course, in the same way, you can also link the radius to some controller, yeah, where you can collect or control the X and Y component of the radius over time to make it grow or deform over time, but I'm not going to show this to keep it here a bit more simple. Maybe let's stick with this position here and remove the keyframes again, because the other thing I want to show you is also how to use this keyframe offset. This works as follows. So I just enable it. And now the nice thing is I can select now all these layers and apply it again. And if you make sure that your layers have the initial position of 0, yeah, so in other words, when you click here on the position, double click, and you see the keyframe value is actually 0, then they stay where they are. Yeah. But the nice thing is you can keyframe them now. Yeah. So we can, for example, say this first element I actually want to move from the position -100 to here. You know, see, it moved 100 to here, and again, the last one is here overlapping. But let's do it with the second one too. Position, yeah, so this one is still here because this is actually the last layer, not the first one. Okay, but if we go to this point, for example, and also say, yeah, we want here its position to be -100, then it moves 100 points to the left. Yeah, and we still can keyframe it, so we can go here and say at this point it should be 0, and at this point, so let's keyframe this here too. This one should also be 0. Okay, now you can see on top of the circle thing, these 2 points now nicely move in here. Yeah, so we can have circles, keyframes on top of your placement in the circle. Okay, maybe also a bit boring. I deactivate this again, and when I deactivate this, oops, I deactivate it and reapply again. So select all layers except this first one and apply. And you can see once this is not activated, the keyframes are simply ignored. Yeah, so no movement here in the keyframes at all. So I can also delete them again. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is this wiggling, or layer offset is also something I can mention here. So first, wiggling, you can use it to animate these points in and out, or to place them a little bit less regular. Maybe I again apply here and hit auto apply to update any changes from now on automatically. So if we say, for example, we add a wiggle of 30, yeah, all elements here on the circle are placed not exactly on their position, but a little bit deformed. And currently you can see this does not change over time at all, because we have here a frequency of 0. If you increase this frequency to say 1, then they wiggle basically around their position on the circle. Yeah. And then you can see at the end of the demo video at the beginning, yeah, you have seen that it looked like the circle got destroyed at the end. All points moved out like this. And this was simply done by animating the amplitude and keyframing it over time to make them go away from their circle position. With the wiggle, you also have here this radial wiggle option. If you enable this, you can see that the elements stay exactly on the circle, yeah, but they move on the shape of the circle. They wiggle on the shape of the circle. Yeah, like this. Now you can see they are moving, but only moving on the shape of the circle and not away from it. Okay, the last very nice thing that we have here are these layer offset options. So let me deactivate the auto apply here and set this all back, 0, 0, and like this, so all the defaults. And now we want to come to the layer offset. And for this, let me also change the beginning and end angle. Again, these are keyframed here. Yeah, so we go here from, let's say we want to go from 0 to 180. Like this. Yeah. And let's apply this here to get rid of the wiggle. And also maybe let's get rid of a few points. We just need a few less here. Like this. And now to all these points, except for our control layer, we apply this expression. And let's enable auto apply again. Now we have here just these 100 And let's remove here this keyframe. Actually, we want to keep this static now. Whatever, this 1 to 0. Okay, now we have a nice half circle from 0 to 180. And what we can do with the layer offset now is removing points here from the beginning. So taking these first layers here and place them at the end. Yeah, so if you want to animate this, I go again here to this null and go here to this offset parameter. Maybe I can close this one. Go to this offset and click here to link it. Yeah. Now it asks me, should there be created a new controller? Yes, it should. And now you can see after this is applied that we have here this offset controller. And if we animate this over time from 0 to let's say here 100 at frame 100, yeah, for example. And now you make a RAM preview. You see that in each frame, one dot moves. Yeah, one dot from the end moves to the beginning. By this, you can have such nice animations where not the points themselves are moving, but actually the pattern is moving. Yeah, always points from the end are taken and are added to the beginning. And of course, all this can also be done in combination with the other properties. So not only for circles, but also for ellipses and spirals. Okay, I hope this gave you some idea of the many uses of this distributed 2D circle and spiral. So the main idea is really just specify the range of layers. Yeah, what is the name of the first one? What is the name of the last one? And then specify a start angle and radius and an end angle. And if you want it to be a spiral, also the end radius separately. And all the rest can then be done with this magic wiggling or this offset things here.